Okay. So in the last section, we have gone through the different objectives of RCC design and what are the different things to be kept in mind while designing. And now we'll go for, we are also even seeing that what are the different methods of design. We are seeing some introductory part of working stress method. So now that's the limit state method. We'll be going with the limit state method. So when we say working stress method, as we have gone through in earlier lecture, so this method basically based on the behavior of structure, and that is to under the working load. How about the limit state method then? So limit state method is something we can design it. It is something limit or acceptable limit for the safety serviceability of the structure before failure occurs. So any acceptable limit for the case of safety as well as serviceability of the structure before failure occurs. So it should give certain sign, there should be certain limit. So the concept of the design with limit state is to achieve acceptable probability so that the structure will not become unfit for use and will not reach limit state. So what are the different two limit states under this design method? So the first one is the limit state of collapse, and second one limit state of serviceability. So under this limit state, under the limit state of collapse, we do have limit state of flexure, limit state of shear, and then limit state of torsion. So flexure, shear, and torsion. So these are the three subtypes under this limit state of collapse. While if you go for limit state of serviceability, then it comes under deflection and then cracking. So when we say limit state of collapse, so we have to check any structure member for the flexure, for the shear, as well as for the torsion, if applicable. Sometimes that that structural part may not be applicable for shear. Sometimes it may be applicable for flexure only, and then due to certain external forces, even the torsion may be produced. So in that case, this different limit state, basically when we say limit state of collapse, so that have certain three subtypes: flexure, shear, and torsion. And when we say limit state of serviceability, so that comes under deflection and cracking. So why this has been different? Because we are talking about the first wall collapse, and then serviceability means that particular structure should be serviceable. So as per the deflection point of view and as per the cracking point of view, you may find sometimes, suppose a particular structure have many cracks in there, so you won't feel to live in that kind of structure. Or if there is a deflection, suppose if you are living in a room and slab is something which is deflected, or you will see that there are certain deflection in the slab. The slab has something looking like that it may fall anytime. Just like that, the deflection is there. If it is there, so you may feel that, okay, we should not leave there. The structure may collapse anytime. If suppose there are many cracks in the beam and you can visibly see the cracks, and you can visibly see that particularly reinforcement, and there is a corrosion. So you will feel that okay, this structure is not good for living, and that make it collapse anytime. So that's the reason this part has been made different. So under collapse, we will see that okay, we have to design this structure that for any kind of external load, that suppose if there is a flexure is something you can say bending, similar to bending, shear. Yes, if the shear is there and torsion, it's kind of moment is there, and because of that moment, torsion is going to occur. So you have to check those conditions. Okay, so what's the difference between then working stress method and limit stress method then? So first of all, if we say working stress method, that's the elastic design method. Why we say that it is a elastic method? Because the stress strain relationship that under that you will find there's a linear curve, or that particularly assumptions are that. But when we say limit state method, it do not have this. It does not cover only elastic part. Even after elastic part, whatever, suppose if we go for like this, that there is a part and this kind of relationship about the stress strain, and that kind of plastic design method, it is, or that particularly material, whatever the maximum capacity is having in that material, so that can be used. So basically, this working stress method follows Hooke's law, or you can say this the term elastic comes into consideration. And when we say limit state of designs, in that case, that particularly material is allowed to go beyond yield limit and enter into the plastic zone where it can reach up to the ultimate strength. So you will get even ultimate strength after even yield strength. So this is only possible limit state method. So this method leads to uneconomical design, while this method LSM considerable economical design. Why it just consider economical design? Because the for this WSM, it if we just look at that particular material, so we don't cover its proper capacity of that material, or we don't cover the full strength or the particular strength of the material. Either we'll go for the over assumptions or we'll go for the lower assumptions. But here, when we say LSM, so we'll consider the whole material, and we'll consider the whole strength of the material. And that's the reason it says that you will get in LSM limits in economical design. But yes, it has, you can say, because there are, when we say limit state method, so there are different calculations wherein we will check that, okay, if it is satisfying our criteria or not. So that's the reason this LSM increases our calculation effort, but this reduces. So why this is so? Because we are going to cover different checks, whether collapse under the limit set of collapse, under the limit set of serviceability. So that kind of uh, particularly checks will be there, and that's the reason it says that the calculation efforts will get increased. Well, this WSM basically stress-based method, while LSM is strain-based method. So you know the definition of stress and you know the definition of strain. So stress-based method means even why it is all depending upon how this particularly stress strain relationship is there. So under the stress strain relationship, if you are considering that how that particularly structure is behaving, And accordingly, this is considered as stress-based method, while LSM is strain-based method. Now here in working stress method, there is only one safety factor, and that's the reason it is called as a only safety factor. But when we say for the limit stress method, there is a partial safety factor. Partial safety factor, why we are saying partial safety factor? Because that safety factor is applicable for material as well as for the load. So that safety factor means what we are going to consider. That suppose there is a load of 10 kilonewton, so we will multiply that with the partial safety factor, or we will make it more safe. So what we will going to do, we are going to increase it, say 1 point by 1.1 or 1.2 or 1.25 likewise. So even it is applicable for concrete or steel, or even for the loading factors as well. So it depends. If you are going for steel design, in that case, this particularly material will play a vital role. Partial safety factor in terms of material and in terms of load, there are different partial safety factors there. Then there are average or statistic values are used in WSM, while characteristic values, which are derived from probabilistic approach, are used in the LSM. Characteristic value is something we will say that, okay, this is the limit, and beyond which we are saying that yes, this structure will not go. That's the limit. Or even if it goes, there are hardly a 5% chances that it will go. So whatever the strength is there, or whatever there is a limit set in this method, so that would be the value, or we can say most of the time, or 95% chances are there that it would be in that limit itself. So difference continues. So LSM and this particularly WSM when we are saying. So suppose that particularly if you're designing a beam, in that case, you will find that the more size or the reinforcement sizes would be more in WSM as compared to LSM. So now we'll go in much in detail of this limit state. So first of all is the characteristic value. So what is meant by this characteristic values, or what are the characteristic strengths? So it is the characteristic strength of material is the value of material below which not more than 5% test results are expected to fall. Or we can say, suppose if you are going to target for M20 grade of the concrete. So for M20 grade of concrete, we will say that whatever, say 100 cubes you are going to cast. So out of 100 cubes, so you will say that, okay, most of the, almost 95%, there are the chances that will go 20 or more than 20. And only 5% chances will be there that it will go less than 20. So suppose there are only 5 cubes wherein strength might be 19 or 18.5 or 19.5 likewise. And mostly it would be above the 20, 20.1, 20.5, 21, or 20.25 likewise. So there are 95% chances. I will say the characteristic strength has 95% reliability, and there's only 5% probability of excess strength that will fall below that characteristic strength. So characteristic strength of the concrete and steel, if we just say, if you are going to target M15 grade of the concrete, so this characteristic strength would be 15. For M20, it is 20. For M25, it is 25, 30. M30, it is 30 Newton per mm square. So the unit is Newton per mm square. And how to denote that characteristic strength? We denote it with this FCK. So that is, it is actually like this, FCK, C and K. So that's how this is for the characteristic strength of the concrete. Similarly, if suppose you are going to use the grade of steel. Now here you will find this FE. Here MS mild steel grade 1, so that is 250, or even we can write like this, FE 250, then FE 415, and then FE 500. So this number is actually characteristic strength of that particularly grade. Then we'll go for characteristic load. So characteristic load means those loads which have 95% probability of not being exceeded during the lifetime of the structure. So whatever the load we are going to consider on the structure, so we will check that 95% the probability is that it should not be more than, or it won't get exceeded. Well, in WSM, the design load is the characteristic load only, but here characteristic load and the design load is different. So in the absence of statistical data, characteristic load shall be as per IS 875 1987. So IS 875, what does this cover? Suppose you do not know what kind of load shall we take. Suppose there is a building. So suppose there is a residential building. Suppose there is a commercial building, and suppose there is an apartment. Suppose there is some uh, parking shed. So how to take the load, or how to assign the load there? What kind of load should we take? If suppose the data is not available, in that case, so you have to refer this IS code. In this IS code, you will see that the different loading, for different loads, you will have the different parts of the IS code, and accordingly, this dead load, imposed load, wind load, snow load, special load, and load combinations. So these are all covered in this IS 875 and have the different parts of it. So dead load, you will have the different IS code of same. The part would be there. If you do not know, and it will depend that the condition will be there. For suppose there is a residential building, suppose there is a commercial building, suppose there is a public building. So what kind of data shall we take if we do not know the loading pattern? And apart from that, apart from this IS 875, if you are going to design for the earthquake, so for that earthquake resistant design of structure, you have to use this IS 1893. So IS 1893 will be used for the earthquake resistant design. Then we'll go for what is meant by this partial safety factor. So partial safety factor for the material strength is introduced to account of constructional faults, workmanship, and supervision. Sometimes you can find in the or many times you will find that no one no one has any measuring jar, or no one has that particularly weighing one. If you go to the say grocery shop, or if you go to the some even fruit stall, you will find even a, if you want half kg, even if you want 250 gram, if you want 1 kg, so you will first of all going to weigh that on the machine. But do you find it in the same for the construction field? Nothing. There is one particularly, there is not any kind of machine over there. So you will find that okay, labor wants to take according to his convenience, so he will take it. Though there is a particularly for if you want to go for sand, if you want to take the cement, but there is a particularly instrument there, but that pan is there, but that is not accurate. Sometimes it may, sometimes labor may take it approximately, may take sometimes, or there is no any kind of weighing things available there. So yes, that's called, that is called as a fault, workmanship fault. Supervision, sometimes there is a supervisor or engineer is not available. In that case, labor might take the disadvantage of it, and he may take, or he may assume according to his knowledge, and he will do the construction. So to take care of those things, this partial safety factor has been introduced. So if we just look at this, the design strength, which is obtained by dividing the characteristic strength by the partial safety for material strength. So this is the design strength, that is equals to F divided by gamma m. F is the characteristic strength, FD is the design strength, and gamma m that is the partial safety factor. So if you are looking for the partial safety factor for the material strength, so yes, for the concrete, if you are going to design it for the limit state of collapse, so it has to be 1.5. If it is going to be serviceability, so consider it is as 1.15. But for the steel, it is only 1. Why it is 1? Because concrete, you are going to made it in the, or there are certain things. Either you may do it in the in situ, or there may be some mixture available there, or concrete mixture is available, or accordingly, depending on that. So this may change. So if you make the concrete in your lab, if you make the concrete on the field, if you make the concrete in the concrete mixer, so all those things will be different. So to take care of that, basically, you may find this concrete, how this particularly 1.5 as the safety factor, partial safety factor. But for steel, it is only 1, because the steel, this product, it is directly coming from the industry. There is nothing called as in situ. Okay, it is directly coming out from the industry. So industry have the proper norms, and according to those norms and regulations, this particularly steel material is actually getting designed, and accordingly will utilize that. So if you go for some steel sections, just like ISMB section, ISMC section, channel section, beam section, angle section, so these are already coming from the industry. And for that reason, we don't go for more partial safety factor in that case. So that is for the material. If you go for the material, so how to calculate it? Design strength, that is equals to characteristic strength divided by partial safety factor, or you can say this F, this is characteristic strength, equals to, you have to multiply this FD, design strength, multiplied by safety factor. Now it was the earlier it was for the material, now partial safety factor for load. So partial safety factor for load is a load factor which when multiplied characteristic load, that will give you the design load. So design load is equals to this partial safety factor for load and multiplied by characteristic load. So why do we take again partial safety factor? Because to take into account the variation in load, to unforeseen the increase in load, constructional inaccuracies, different load combinations, secondary effects, type of limit. So it depends on that. So this basically this is already covered in the IS code. In IS 456, you will get this the values of partial safety factor for the load. So how to calculate design load? So to calculate design load, you have to simply multiply partial safety factor for load multiplied by characteristic load. So this calculation, this part is there. So what are the different load factors in that case? So depend upon whether it is dead load, whether it is live load, or whether it is wind load, or whether it is earthquake load. So depending on that, you will have the different load factor, or if you make the combination of this dead load, live load, wind load, and earthquake load. You want to combine it dead load only with live load or dead load plus wind load, and accordingly, so that may get vary. So how to find this one? So that's the table wherein you can see that partial safety factor for load, if you are going for the limit state of collapse, and then if you are going for the limit state of serviceability. So how to consider the different load combination? So as I said, there would be dead load, live load, wind load, and earthquake load. So for dead load and this IL, it is nothing but the imposed load. Imposed load or live load, you can say same thing. So dead load and live load, so you have to consider 1.5. For wind load, you have to consider 1.5. Now, if you are making the combination dead load, live load, and wind load, then just take it 1.2. So that's how, yes, instead of wind load, you can even change to earthquake load. So the same load combination will be applied and same safety factor will be applied. Similar to that, limit state of serviceability is also a part where this dead load, live load, and wind load is there. But this limit state of serviceability, you can see this factor is lesser than limit set of collapse because this collapse is the major part. Serviceability is the next part. So this is always lesser limit set of serviceability, whatever the values you are looking at for partial safety factor. So that they are lesser than this limit set of collapse. So that's the partial safety factor. If you just consider for the load and depending on the material, if this is a concrete, you can say for the serviceability, and for the steel that is 1.5 and 1.5 and 1.15, and then for the deflection is 1, while for the cracking is 1.3 and 1. So what are the different loads that we can consider on the structure? Dead load, first of all. So dead load is the one which is nothing but called as a permanent load that is not going to be changed. Or suppose there is a beam. On the beam, you will say that there will be the dead load of the walls. The walls are constructed on the beam, so that is going to be the confirm. Then there will be the floor finishes as well. Floor finish, we can say the tiles, cement slurry. So all those things comes under this dead load. So dead load include the weight of the structure itself, yes, and any permanent fixture, wall, partition, even floor, roofs, ceiling, finishes, etc. So if you just look at this, PCC1, plain cement concrete. So the value is 24 kilonewton per meter cube. For RCC, it is 25 kilonewton per meter cube. While for brick wall, it is 19.2 kilonewton per meter cube, and for steel, 78.5 kilonewton per meter cube. So that these are the values for the loads on the structure. Okay, so here we will stop. That's the time remaining is almost 1 minute. So those who have not entered their name and roll number in the chat box, so do it now, fast, because the time is less than a minute. So you can enter your type your name and roll number in the chat box. So yes, here we will stop today. If you have entered your name and roll number, then you can leave the meeting.